Good morning, folks. Good evening, good afternoon, whatsoever you're watching it from. This video for Thursday afternoon here in Liberia. I'd like to welcome you to LNTV Liberia Live. My name is Christopher S. Bestman. I'm currently at the Ministry of Information. The regular press briefing of the Minister of Information here in Central Monrovia will be playing host to several government officials, including the Minister of Information, Matthew Pierre. Today, this special press briefing will be placed to the Honorable Minister himself, followed by Honorable Dan Sion, the Acting Director General of the Liberia Agricultural Commodity Regulatory Authority, LACRA. And following that particular government officials, Mr. Apostle, that's Dr. Apostle J. Aaron Wright Sr., the Acting Executive Director of the National Commission on Disability. He will also be joined by Honorable Tamat Lane Masu, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, and of course, Honorable Williget Nicholas Williams, the head of the Metrology Department, Liberia Standards Authority. So today, the Minister of Information regular press briefing. This is just the media advisory that I'm reading to you. There will be series of talking point today here at the Charles Graham Press Conference Hall, wherein Honorable Gerald Matthew Pierre, the Minister of Information, today will be addressing the press conference on a wide range of national issues, particularly matter that has to do with issues of national concerns, importance, and provide more updates on key government initiatives. Another talking point today will be witnessed by Honorable Seyi. Honorable Seyi is the Acting Director General of the Liberia Agricultural Commodity Regulatory Authority, LACRA, and Honorable Seyi today will provide detailed explanation on the LACRA, especially talking about the new palm oil regulations, cocoa and coffee enforcement, among others. Following Honorable Seyi from LACRA, another key talking point will also be addressed by Honorable Wright, that's Dr. J. Aaron Wright Sr. He's the Acting Executive Director of the National Commission on Disability, and of course, Honorable Wright Sr. Providing in-depth conversation as it relates to the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, wherein Honorable Tanan Amusu will also take the microphone, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia. Again, Honorable Williams, Honorable Williget Nicholas Williams, who is also serving as the head of the Metrology Department of Liberia Standard Authority, will also be speaking on the awareness being created on the World Metrology Day and present regulations in place to promote fair trade in the commerce of Liberia. So basically today we will be having about 5 different speakers ranging from the Minister of Information and that of Honorable Seyi, Honorable Wright Sr., Honorable Williams, and of course the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia will be addressing today's press conference. So let me just give a brief history about the former Prime Minister, just a summary of his profile today, wherein he will be major this press briefing here at the Charles Graham Press Conference Hall. Honorable Tanat Lamo Atmeso, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia today, is an accomplished scholar, humanitarian advocate, and international. He holds a bachelor's degrees in development studies, a master of business administration, economic management. He also holds a Juris Master in International Legal Studies from institutions in the United Kingdom and the United States of America. Born and raised in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, he has transitions into humanitarian service, leadership development, and global advocacy. He currently resides in the United States of America with his family and continues to serve as an international speaker. The former Prime Minister is a leadership mentor and an humanitarian advocate. He is an affiliate with several international organizations dedicated to leadership development, youth empowerment, and support for vulnerable communities across Africa. So this is just a very short summary of the profile of the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Honorable Tama Lane Amesu, and of course today he will be addressing the press conference. So folks, thanks so kindly again. We already have our guest operator seated in the Charles William Press Conference Hall, and of course, we are awaiting the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Information, Honorable Gerald Matthew Pia, and of course, the rest of the government officials who are here to address this major press briefing. They are seated, and of course, any moment from now, the Minister of Information will be arriving here to get this press conference key starts. Whatsoever you have, folks, keep watching. Don't you go away. Any moment from now, this press conference will get started here in the Charles William Press Conference Room. Folks, whatever you're watching from, folks, I'd like to welcome you. And of course, Deputy Minister for Public Affairs, Daniel Sano.
To ask question, you should stick to summary profile. Attachment. You can look. Keep your gadget quiet as you are waiting. It's ready for information.
You just listen to the Director of Public Affairs here at the Ministry of Information, Mr. Lawrence Family, cautioning reporters here to keep all of your gadgets on silence. Again today, the Ministry of Information here at the Charles William Press Conference Hall is having a full house guest to this, and there we go with the Minister of Information, Gerald Matthew Pia, in a handshake with the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, along with Dr. Dan Say, the Acting Director General of the Liberia Agriculture and Commodity Authority. Dr. J. on right.
Thank you for your patience and thank you for your attention, distinguished ladies and gentlemen of the press. It's my pleasing to start with the public and all those who are us here from the Charles William Conference Room at the Ministry of Information, that this we are hosting Dan Sai, is the IT of the Liberia Agricultural Commodity Regulatory. He's here with his team. We also Dr. Ewan Senior, Executive, the National Commission on Disability. And of course, as you can see, he's been joined by the Honorable Tamrat Lane Atmansu, former Prime Federal Democrat, and Williger Nicola Williams, head Metrology Department, Liberia Standard Authority. To run down, let me just give you a brief history of the Honorable Admansu, Prime Minister of the Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. He's an accomplished scholar, humanitarian, and advocate, an international trainer. He holds a bachelor degree in development studies, business administration, MBA in economic management, a master's degree in international affairs, and juris and international legal studies from the United Kingdom and the United States. He transitioned into humanitarian service, leadership development, and global advocacy. At this point, he currently resides, and he's here to tell you, you will hear from him why he's in Liberia partnering with the National Commission on Disabilities. Honorable Prime Minister, we're happy to have you. Thank you. That is the official speech of the government of Liberia. He will be followed by the National Commission on Disabilities. They will here, and then the Honorable Densai will speak to you as well. You, members of the press, as a matter of fact, have to ask our guests some questions. Those questions at the time. Let me now invite to the microphone the Honorable Jeremiah Mafupia, will make some introductory remarks before turning the
Good afternoon, and we'll try to be very rapid so that we give our guests more time to talk to you. Since the end of the war, the quest for accountability has been lingering. We've had many arrangements to include the TRC process, different engagements on trying to get peace in Accra and other places. We've had successful democratic elections and transitions since the war ended. But yet still the quest for justice and accountability has been lingering. As a leader with courage, in the will politically, and determined to end the culture of impunity, curtail the menace of corruption, and ensure accountability, the President, Joseph Numa Waga Sr., as he called to be aware, has submitted two major legislative proposals to the national legislature aimed at strengthening accountability, advancing justice, and reinforcing the rule of law in Liberia. The bills were submitted to the leadership of the legislature, including the Speaker, the Honorable Richard Nabekun, and President Protem Yemi Kamala Harris, for deliberations and enactment. The two proposed pieces of legislation are an act establishing a war and economic crimes court, and an act adopting a new title, 17A of the Liberian Code of Laws revised, establishing a national anti-corruption court. The President has emphasized that both bills are grounded in Liberia's historical experience, constitutional framework, and international legal obligations. The bills seek to address long-standing governance and justice challenges arising from the country's past conflicts and systemic corruption concerns. The proposed War and Economic Crimes Code is designed to respond to recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, TRC, and commitments on the Accra Peace Accord. It will provide a specialized judicial mechanism to adjudicate allegations of war crimes, crimes against humanity, gross human rights violations, and economic crimes committed during Liberia's period of instability. The President expressed that the initiative reflects Liberia's duty to combat impunity, uphold international humanitarian law, and promote reconciliation through accountability. The proposed National Anti-Corruption Code seeks to enhance Liberia's judicial capacity to effectively address corruption-related offenses, which continue to undermine public trust, economic development, and service delivery. The legislation highlights the limitations of existing judicial structures in handling complex corruption cases and proposes a specialized court system to ensure more effective prosecution and deterrence. The enactment of these bills will strengthen the rule of law and accountability mechanisms, enhance public confidence in governance institutions, address historical injustices and economic crimes, improve transparency in public administration, and align Liberia with the international justice and anti-corruption standards. To ensure the court's operationalization, the President has called the national legislation through the leadership to give the bill urgent and careful consideration in the national interest. The government of Liberia, through the Ministry of Agriculture, has officially launched the historic Soil for Liberia nationwide soil mapping campaign, marking a major step towards transforming agriculture through science, innovation, and data-driven farming. Beginning in Bond County, few teams are already on the ground conducting soil sampling, soil profile analysis, land use, and land cover assessments. The nationwide exercise will eventually cover all 15 counties of Liberia, helping experts to determine one, which crops grow best in specific areas, what nutrients soils require, how to improve yields sustainably, and how land can be managed more efficiently. The findings will lead to the development of Liberia's first ever soil suitability maps, soil fertility and nutrition maps, soil acidity maps, land use and land cover maps. Most importantly, the initiative will establish Liberia's first national digital soil information center. This groundbreaking platform will provide farmers, researchers, policymakers, and development partners with reliable agricultural data to drive smarter decisions and increase productivity. The Technical Committee Transaction Advisory working for the progress of the 200 megawatts independent power producer solar energy project in Liberia have provided updates to the Minister of Mines and Energy on the status of the award. The technical discussions at the ministry was attended by the World Bank, which is supporting preparatory activities for the solar RPP project in Liberia. One of the 200 megawatts solar RPP project is expected to produce 100 megawatts will be made available for evacuation into the CSG transfer substation in Ghana, Grand Bassa County, to scale up the output of power that the facility generates, while 100 megawatts will feed into the CSG transfer station in Sekepa, Nima County. The technical working group informed the minister that significant progress has been made in the roll-up plan and methodology of the solar power project, and commended all actors involved with the process, including the Liberia Electricity Corporation, Liberia Land Authority, the Ministry of Local Government, and the sector head of the Ministry of Mines and Energy. The team assured the Mines and Energy Minister that their hands will remain on deck in working in collaboration to see the project's implementation fully achieved according to the timeline. India has been working to assemble the whole of Africa for the India-Africa Summit, which will have taken place in India. They have recently issued a position with regard to the summit based on certain global situation. And I would like to just read out that statement. The government of Liberia, the government of the Republic of India, and the African Union have been working closely on the convening of the 4th India-Africa Forum Summit, initially scheduled to take place in New Delhi from the 28th to 31st of May 2026. The two sides, meaning India and the African Union, exchanged views on the evolving health situation in parts of Africa and reaffirmed the importance of continued collaboration in strengthening public health preparedness and response capacity across the continent, including through support to the Africa CDC and relevant national institutions. India reaffirmed its solidarity with peoples and governments of Africa and expressed its readiness to contribute to the Africa CDC-led efforts aimed at addressing the evolving health situation in line with shared commitment to an African-led response. Recognizing the importance of ensuring the full participation and engagement of African leaders and stakeholders, and mindful of the emerging public health situation on the continent, consultations were held between the government of India, the chairperson of the African Union, and the African Union Commission regarding the holding of the summit and associated activities. Following these consultations, the two sides agreed that it would be advisable to convene the 4th India-Africa Summit at a later date. New dates for the summit and its associated meetings will be finalized through mutual consultation and communicated in due course. India and Africa reaffirmed their long-standing partnership founded on solidarity, mutual respect, social cooperation, and a shared commitment to peace, development, prosperity, and the well-being of their peoples. So that goes to say the president was expected this week to be part of the delegation for that summit. With this decision, it means that that travel is also cancelled. The technical committee, the Law Reform Commission and the EU Election Follow-up Mission to Liberia met to discuss electoral reform in Liberia. Key issues were campaign financing, boundary delimitation, diaspora voting, voters tracking, national identification registry, and gender issues. The National Election Commission has conducted nationwide consultations on electoral reforms in late 2025, and in collaboration with the Law Reform Commission to implement past recommendations. The Law Reform Commission's chairperson, Councillor Bono M. Farmer, briefed the EU delegation on critical areas needing reform, noting that Article 91 of the 1986 Constitution ties many election laws to a referendum process. He also requested technical support from the EU for legal drafting and capacity building. The delegation praised the Law Reform Commission's effort and urged continued collaboration to achieve electoral reform. The Liberia Drug Enforcement Agency confirms that 4 dismissed officers that were previously assigned at the Rabat International Airport, who were identified and forwarded to the Ministry of Justice for criminal prosecution on May 5, 2026, appear today at the 13th Judicial Circuit Court in Magidi County. The officers were dismissed following a full-scale investigation conducted by the LDEA's Board of Internal Inquiry and Professional Standard Division into their alleged involvement in tampering with fruit of the crown, cocaine, that were arrested from defendant Kuta Doro on July 12, 2025, who is currently on trial for drug trafficking charges. The LDEA maintains a zero tolerance policy against corruption, misconduct, and any criminal act that compromises national security interests. It says that no officer is above the law and remains fully committed to transparency, accountability, and the rule of law. The dismissed officers are John Logan, former commander, RIA, Adula Sharif, Chief of Operations, Lovette Flowers, Department Chief of Operations, and Nepapo Duo from the Operation Development Department. The LDA continues to closely monitor the matter and will fully cooperate with the Ministry of Justice throughout the prosecution process. The technical team from the Japanese government working in concert with the Ministry of Public Works are currently doing mapping exercises along the route from the Johnson Street to Freeport. It is in preparation for the eventual commencement of the full pavement, 4 lanes from Johnson Street to Freeport. That was a commitment made by JICA. As a way of enhancing what they were doing since we knew the road would have stopped to Freeport, the government on its own has been rehabilitating, basically reconstructing from Freeport to St. Paul Bridge. That work is far advanced and have approached the Douala area in terms of actual pavement. Work from St. Paul Bridge as far as Douala on the area to be expanded have also been completed. And it is anticipated that if the rains will allow us, we hope to conclude the full pavement of the Freeport to St. Paul Bridge corridor fully before the rain comes deep. And again, let me stress that depends on how much rain is received. We have a climate change situation. Sometimes we got a lot of rain, sometimes we don't. This is one time I'm hoping not to have a lot of rain, so we can complete that stretch of the road up to St. Paul's Bridge. Also, you are aware that with the advancement, finalization of the public works agreement, actual preparatory works along the Bomi to Clay corridor started, and it is also expected that the construction work will commence from St. Paul Bridge headed towards Western Liberia. So there will be full connectivity. The Japanese will do the road up to Freeport. The government is currently doing the road from Freeport to St. Paul Bridge, and probably will pick it up from there to Tottenham to Old Waterside and up to Clay. That is a very transformative initiative by the Waka administration to ensure connectivity in Liberia. And like I announced to you, we are headed to Lofa for the second phase of the public work project. We could see the road being constructed, paved, from the cover to Point River. Current construction was taking place from Banga to Point River. Again, the goal is to ensure that those corridors are fully connected. In ground crew, you know the contract is being concluded, and pavement will start for the road that leads straight to Southtown, the home of our former president, which we intend to pay fully. And all major pavement works are being ongoing in that corridor with the hope of connecting the entire southeast to the rest of the country. Thank you for your attention.
I want to use this medium to appreciate our honorable Minister of Information. Here, the second time. We also want to use this time to appreciate our father, the president of this nation, Ambassador Joseph Waka, for giving us the opportunity to serve our country, and more especially for a unique and specialized community in Liberia known as the persons with disabilities. Since the last appeared, the Commission has been involved in doing a lot of activities, and some of those activities is the launching of the strategic plan, 5-year strategic plan of the Commission, and our PSRP project. And we were also able to represent the government of Liberia to Abuja at the ECOWAS Summit to speak on behalf of our community as persons with disability as it relates to the issue of data collection, management, and protection of persons with disability in the 16 West African countries. Just of recent, we returned from Dakar, Senegal, for a conference, All African Conference for persons with disabilities, where we were supported by the UNDP, and all electoral management bodies were present. That includes the Election Commission of Liberia, so the Executive Director of the National Commission on Disability and the Deputy Executive Director of the National Election Commission were afforded the opportunity by UNDP to represent the government of Liberia. And this conference is all about how different election bodies in Africa can include persons with disability from the very initial stage in design of programs that relate to the issue of elections or the electoral process. So Liberia was opportune to participate, and we had a very good session. And the Commission on Disability and the Election Commission has agreed, both institutions have agreed to sign a memorandum of understanding that all electoral activities or matters that relate to Liberia, the Commission will be involved to have the inclusion of persons with disability. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, our Liberian people, we as a government have told you over and over through our president that we are here to work for the Liberian people. And we are very intentional about what we say and what we say we will do. And we just listened to our Honorable Minister of most of the things that we are doing and we will continue to do. We are very intentional. As proof of our intentionality, today with us, having been appointed by His Excellency, we thought to make use of all of our connections and make our dream of rescuing this country be a reality. In so doing, a proof has been shown. Today in Liberia, we have the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia in Liberia. You know, these two countries, Liberia and Ethiopia, have a very long-standing relationship. And we are overthrown to have a great connection with this great statement in terms of other developmental processes and investment initiatives before even we came to government. So when we came to government, we said, "Hello, Honorable, this is a responsibility. We would like you to come to Liberia to join our president in making sure that whatever we have said become a reality." And so today, ladies and gentlemen of the press, Honorable Minister and other officials of government, I would like you to please join me on the podium to welcome the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Honorable Tara Amasu. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Honorable Minister, other officials, and the media community, good afternoon. I'm very much delighted. I'm very much delighted to be here in Liberia. This is my first time, though I have been longing to come here for a long period of time. And this happens today, that it's my pleasure to enjoy Liberia, this beautiful country, and these beautiful people, kind people. And I very much believe that this is only the first time, but not the last time. Liberia and Ethiopia have a common kind of journey in the past years and also now. We both passed through a very difficult time of civil wars. So we associate with ourselves with the Liberian people through that. And we both were challenged by transition periods. And we both were challenged by coming out of civil war and trying to go towards democracy and freedom. And we are both challenged with development still in our countries. This will be our present challenge. Liberia, South Africa, and also the other part of the world, and also Ethiopia, what accountability means after civil wars, what being responsibility in governance. As Honorable Minister have been stated earlier, what the President and Liberian government as a whole is embarking to establish institutional responsibility and institutional accountability lies in one of the lessons that we Africans have to take. When I came here in Liberia, I was invited by my dear friend, Dr. Wright. And when I saw Liberia from the air, the first thing that I was impressed was that Liberia is totally green. And I want to share what I felt right at that time while in the plane. And that took me to the whole Africa, not only Liberia. And then, of course, later on, I learned that there are, and I have been researching a little bit about Liberia before I came here. We Africans, I said, are full of wealth and resources. We have been for hundreds of years been exploited by others, and we have not been benefited as people and as a continent. But the resources are here. We are arguably the wealthiest continent in the world, but we still are the poorest. And I was thinking, why? That is the question, and that is the challenge, especially this generation and the next one have to deal with. I met with His Excellency the President in his office with other dignitaries of his office, and he was so generous in his time to give me his time amidst very tight schedules, and he gave me enough time to brief me about Liberia, about the economic and social situations, about what Liberia has to do, and how we can be able to do together for the benefit of the people. And I found out that His Excellency the President is a wise, humble person who always wants to do something very good for his people. And his people is in his heart. And I learned from his wisdom a lot of things. I also expressed about myself to him and how we can be able to work together. I had also a meeting with the Chief Justice in his office, and again I'm thankful of the Chief Justice giving me generous time again. We talked about his immense responsibilities and his institution's immense responsibilities in the midst of all these challenges, ups and downs, and especially now. And we talked about how we can work together, especially in human development, human capacity building, in terms of leadership trainings and things like that. I also met some other institutions and leaders, and by now I say I have a more or less fair picture of Liberia, the people and others. What makes me really being emotional is the first evening I came here I had a dinner invitation by the communities of disabilities, where we met together, we had dinner together, and most importantly, where they explained about their situation and how we can be able to work together for the benefit of the communities of disabilities, so to say. I say so to say or so called because I don't believe there is a disability of human beings in the eyes of God. There may be lack of opportunities. There is not disability. So having seen and being briefed about all these things, what I say is that me and my other friends in different areas of work, humanitarian work, human development, especially leadership development work, and also in the impact investment works. We are ready to work with the government, with other institutions, civic institutions, non-government organizations, and also others for the benefit of Liberia and for Africa in a broader view. I have been working in leadership development and human development works since 2013 in Africa, focusing on East Africa. My ministry, my organization called Transform Leadership Network, have been working since then in East African countries. I have found now that it's time to come to the western part of Africa and continue working. Our work on that plane, on the human development plane, especially on leadership development plane, is focusing on two things. We can say three things. One is leadership development of the young generation of Africa. You understand why? The young generation of Africa is responsible for the next, to carry on their nations for the good. Different from what was the past, they have to take Africa to the future in a new way, in a new plane. Learning from us, learning from the former African leaders, from the successes and failures, most importantly from failures, and take Africa in a new way to the future. That was the focus of our organization with regard to the young people of Africa. We want to do the same here in the western part, especially starting from Liberia. The second thing we are doing is to bring together African leaders of different sectors, business leaders, government leaders, faith leaders, and student leaders together in one forum and discuss about policy problems, governance problems, economic development problems, and suggest and recommend ways how to make it happen in a way that always impact the people. In the humanitarian field, my wife and I are involved in doing different humanitarian works in Eastern Africa, including Ethiopia. We focus on especially women and children, those who are vulnerable to life. But we are extending now to some other areas too. It's an opportunity and it's a pleasure for me to express myself in a way that now there is an opportunity of doing things for disability communities here in Liberia. And I thank my friend Dr. Wright here to open the doors and let me join him in this endeavor. In capacity building and in creating capabilities for several people, we must show that there is no disability. There is only lack of opportunity. There is another important area that me and my friends want to be involved with soon. And I have discussed that with His Excellency the President in details. And at this juncture, I'm also thankful. I want to express my appreciation for His Excellency the President and his team to allow us to do something in the way that Liberian people would be empowered and in accordance to Liberian policies, procedures, and rules and laws. I am involved in a global impact investment company, which is called Kula Group. Kula Group is an impact investment company working globally, using the up-to-date blockchain technology. The idea of Kula Group is to get to mostly, in fact overwhelmingly, to the so-called undeveloped countries or the least developed ones like Africa, Asia, and the other parts, and invest in different developmental projects and works in different areas. It can be in agriculture, it can be in energy, it can be in infrastructure building, it can be in mining. But the main principle of Kula Group Impact Investment Company is not to extract, but to empower the people, of the local people, where that business is happening, where the projects are happening. What that means has two facets. Number one, whenever we go into some area and start a project, in whatever sector, as I said, agriculture, energy, mining, construction, whatever, we have to use the full employment of the local people. We have to improve and empower that local population in doing different kinds of infrastructures that is beneficial for the surrounding people, like health, education, roads, and other things. That's number one. Number two, in every project that we do, this company does, we want the local people to be part of the governance of that project. Meaning that we want the local people to be part of the decision process and the will and the interest of the local people. We want the driving force to be the people's interest, so that they would have a kind of institutional method or mechanism that the local people would say no or yes to whatever things the company does in that local area. This is different from other normative, what we have been seeing, investments. And as you know, Africa was, as I said earlier, exploited by different kinds of investments in the name of investments. And it's based mainly on extraction of African resources. What we are trying to do is to inverse this, to reverse this process, so that the resources of Africa to be employed to the benefit of the people, especially the local team. This is the principle of our company. I am the senior international representative of this company. And with our capacity and also with the relationship we have with others, we want to do something, at least something, for Liberia and Africa in general. We are excited to be here, and we are excited to work with the government, with and other agencies. I thank you very much for your time, and I thank very much again for Honorable Minister and other distinguished. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Honorable Minister, John Nikia, Honorable Prime Minister, Reverend Apostle Wright, pleasure meeting you, fellow teachers here present, members of the Folk Estate. We're delighted to be in this room for the first time. I hope we're going to share useful information coming from farmers and all stakeholders within the value chain of our agriculture sector. I bring you warm greetings, and on behalf of the Liberia Agricultural Commodity Regulatory Authority, and I extend a shared appreciation to the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs for convening this important national media engagement platform. This initiative reflects government's growing commitment to transparency, public accountability, and citizens' engagement by creating space for ministries, agencies, commissions to provide the Liberian people with direct updates on what they undertaking in the process. For us at Liberia, this engagement is particularly important because agriculture remains central to Liberia's economic future. The rural livelihood, food security, environmental sustainability, and national stability. The commodity sector affects thousands of Liberian families, traders, cooperatives, transporters, processors, exporters, and rural communities whose daily survival and operations are linked to the performance and governance of agriculture. Today, I appear before you not merely to present statistics or institutional activities, but to provide an honest account of the reforms, challenges, achievements, and the transformation efforts ongoing at Liberia since I assumed leadership of the authority in late January. The joining has not been easy. We inherited serious institutional, operational, and regulatory difficulties that require immediate intervention, strategic discipline, and a complete reset of several systems that have weakened over time. However, despite those challenges, I'm pleased to report that meaningful progress has been made. Step by step, we are rebuilding institutional competence, strengthening regulatory enforcement, expanding field operations, modernizing systems, improving commodity governance, and repositioning Liberia as a credible national institution capable of supporting Liberia's agricultural transformation agenda under the leadership of His Excellency President Joseph Numa Waka. The story of Liberia today is therefore a story of institutional recovery, operational expansion, and national affairs. It is a story of responsibility to agricultural governments, protecting Liberians' multi-economy, empowering farmers, strengthening competence, compliance systems and preparing our nation for the realities of a rapidly changing global agricultural market. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, permit me, therefore, to provide a brief overview of where we met the institution, the reforms introduced, the progress achieved, and the direction in which we intend to move Liberia's agricultural and commodity sector in the years ahead. As we speak about the reforms and progress on our way at LACA today, it is important to acknowledge the leadership vision and confidence of His Excellency President Joseph Boakai, whose commitment to agriculture and rural transformation continues to shape the national development directions of this government. I remain profoundly grateful to the President for the confidence and trust reposed in me through my appointment to lead the Liberia Agricultural Commodity Regulatory Authority at such a critical period in the institution's history, at a time when agriculture and LACA required stabilization, restructuring, operational expansion, and renewed national direction. The President demonstrated both thoughtfulness and strategic foresight in recognizing the importance of repositioning agricultural governance within Liberia's broader development agenda. What makes this responsibility even more profound is the President's own historic connection to the Liberian agricultural sector. Long before ascending to the presidency, His Excellency served as Managing Director of the Liberian Produce Marketing Corporation, the forerunner of today's LACA. He therefore understands perhaps more intimately than many national leaders before him the struggles confronting rural farmers, the importance of commodity markets, the dangers of weak agricultural governance, and the urgent necessity of building systems capable of improving rural livelihoods and national food security. The reforms currently being pursued at LACA are therefore not isolated institutional activity operating outside of government's national priority. They are directly aligned with the arrest agenda for inclusive development, particularly the one of the AI flagship framework, which prioritizes agriculture, food security, rural empowerment, economic inclusion, and sustainable national development. Whether through local rice production initiatives, anti-smuggling enforcement, farmer engagement programs, traceability systems for our commodities, environmental compliant preparedness, structures, LACA's ongoing transformation agenda is contributing directly towards the President's broader vision of building a more resilient, productive, transparent, inclusive agricultural economy for Liberia. Ladies and gentlemen of the press, President Boakai has consistently emphasized that Liberia cannot achieve sustainable national prosperity while rural communities remain marginalized and agricultural system remain weak. That philosophy continues to guide our work at LACA every single day. We therefore see our mandate not merely as regulation, but as a part of a larger national mission aimed at restoring dignity to Liberian farmers, strengthening food security, modernizing agricultural governance, and transforming agriculture into a stronger pillar of national economic growth and rural prosperity. So where do we meet LACA or we join LACA? When I assumed leadership of the Liberia Agricultural Commodity Regulatory Authority in late June 2025, it became immediately clear that the institution required far more than routine administrative management. What confronted us was a combination of structural weaknesses, operational limitations, weak enforcement system, fragmented coordination mechanism, inadequate logistics, and declining institutional visibility within the national agricultural governance space. Across major commodity corridors, illicit trade and smuggling activity continue to undermine government revenue, weaken market integrity, and frustrate legitimate commodities actors operating within the law. At the same time, Liberia's agricultural commodity sector itself was undergoing rapid change internationally. Global markets were becoming increasingly regulated by sustainability requirements, traceability obligations, environmental compliance system, and a stricter commodity certification standards. Yet domestically, meaning of the system necessary to prepare Liberia for those involved in reality remain either weak, fragmented, or undeveloped. There was limited traceability infrastructure, zero digital monitoring system, weak county-level presence, insufficient farmer coordination mechanism, and minimum preparedness for emerging international frameworks such as the European Union Deforestation Regulations, commonly referred to as EUDR. Institutionally, Liberia also faced serious operational constraints. Staffing levels were extremely limited relative to the authorities' growing national mandate. Several operational structures outside of the remained weak or inactive. Enforcement mobility was inadequate. Monitoring systems were completely manual. In many parts of the country, the authorities' visibility and operational reach and sustainability declined over time. These conditions affected not only regulatory efficiency, but also public confidence in the institution's ability to effectively govern the agricultural commodity sector. We therefore recognize from the very beginning that restoring Liberia's relevance will require decisive reforms, institutional discipline, operational expansion, and a long-term strategic vision capable of repositioning the authority as both a regulator and a development-oriented institution supporting national agricultural transformation. Our first major priority was institutional stability. We initiated a deliberate process aimed at restoring administrative order, strengthening internal accountability mechanisms, improving operational coordination, and rebuilding confidence within the institution itself. Management reporting structures were strengthened, departmental coordination mechanisms were reactivated, and greater emphasis was placed on discipline, performance, professionalism, and measurable institutional output. At the same time, we are moving aggressively to extend operational capacity nationwide. We are strengthening county-level engagement in major commodity-producing regions, increasing field operations, enforcement coordination, and begin building Liberia's operational visibility across commodity corridors and border communities. For example, 2 months ago, we engaged with farmers in Vahon, Kolahon, Foya, and Virgin to familiarize ourselves with the triggers for shipping our cocoa across neighboring borders, such as Sierra Leone and Guinea. We are planning similar visitations to the Southeast. The institution also embarked upon one of the most rapid workforce expansion processes with Liberia's agricultural governance sector, increasing from approximately 8 personnel in 2024 at 150 during the reporting period, and hoping to recruit more agronomists, climate change technicians, and extension workers in the months ahead. That expansion was not only taken merely for numbers, but to ensure that the authority possess the technical, administrative, enforcement, and field level capacity necessary to execute national mandates. We additionally recognize that the future agricultural governance cannot rely solely on outdated manual system, while the rest of the world moves towards digital traceability, geolocation system, environmental verification, e-extension services, and data-driven commodity regulation. We are working towards transitioning Liberia to a public digital authority. As a result, Liberia intensified efforts towards modernization, digital transformation, including development of a unified digital traceability platform to support farm mapping and farmer registration, batch creation, QR code development and barcode assignment, farm insurance, e-logistics, and e-extension services. These reforms are laying the foundation for Liberia's long-term compliance with international community management standards and sustainability requirements. Ladies and gentlemen, one thing became very clear during this process: the transformation of Liberia's agricultural commodity sector cannot be achieved through isolated regulatory actions alone. It requires institutional coordination, political support, farmer participation, private sector confidence building, institutional cooperation, and national commitment towards building a modern agricultural economy capable of competing within increasing sophisticated global markets. It is against that backdrop that Liberia began pursuing reforms not only as a regulator, but as a national institution contributing to food security, revenue generation, job creation, environmental sustainability, rural empowerment, and economic transformation on the ladies and gentlemen. So, what did we achieve simply that? Despite the steep challenges confronting our institution when we assume leadership, the strategic reforms initiated during this reporting period have already begun producing measurable national results. We are seeing tangible progress across commodity regulations, enforcement, institutional expansion, revenue mobilization, and agricultural development. One of the clearest indicators of our progress has been the substantial growth recorded within Liberia's cocoa sector. Cocoa exports surged from 23,823 metric tons in 2024 to 36,606 metric tons in 2025, representing a remarkable 54% increase within a single reporting period. This growth did not occur by accident. It is a direct result of intensified enforcement operations, stronger licensing system, expanded farm engagement, increased commodity formalizations, and renewed confidence among market actors operating under this sector. Simultaneously, the coffee sector has achieved significant recovery and renewed international visibility. While exports held still at 125 metric tons annually across 2024 and 2025, our broader strategic efforts are laying in the groundwork for a major resurgence of coffee. Through increased rural engagement, including active participation in the Inter-African Coffee Organization and the promotion of Coffee Liberia initiative, we have begun repositioning Liberia within regional and international commodity discussions after years of relative decline. To fuel future production, we currently have 400,000 Liberian coffee seeds thriving in nurseries across Bonn, Lima, and local counties. Our vision is to scale and brand Coffee Liberia as a flagship initiative in the years ahead. Under the current leadership, the Liberia Agricultural Commodity Regulatory Authority has successfully transitioned from a single commodity regulator to a fully diversified regulatory platform. Beyond our historical focus, Liberia now actively regulates the oil palm and the rubber sectors. To sustain this momentum, we are dialoguing with key stakeholders, including the leadership of the Liberia Agricultural Companies Association representing major concession areas in the sector to secure mutual cooperation in the enforcement of the water power and water sector. To understand how far we have come, we must look at where we started. Upon assuming office in June, we met an institution with 0 active partners. Even those who had previously supported that have completely disengaged. Today, I'm proud to report that we have secured commitments from 10 strategic partners who have dedicated themselves to foreign bilateral programs. This rapid turnaround is a powerful demonstration of growing confidence in our work, our transparency, and our commitment to bilateral funds. Attendance with rebuilding partnership, we have modernized our operations. For the first time since the establishment of NACA, we have secured reliable Wi-Fi connectivity for the central office and have transitioned the authority's financial, administrative, and operational workflow towards full digitalization. To ensure sustainability, intensive training is currently being provided to our staff to build robust capacity in navigating these new digital platforms. Another major milestone recorded during this reporting period is a dramatic improvement in our institutional revenue performance. Revenue generation increased from approximately $934,000 to $2.2 million in 2025. So in 2024, we generated, our predecessor generated $934,000, and in 2025, we generated $2.2 million. This historic fiscal growth reflects stronger compliance system, expanded licensing activity, improved monitoring of commodity movements, and intensified market formulations nationwide. As part of our commitment to decentralize and grow expansion, we have completed the renovation of our regional office in Ethiopia. Fully rehabilitated one of our 6 major warehouses, which is currently pending future dedication. Finalized plan to break ground on constructions and rehabilitation works in Bonn, Lima, and Renji in the coming months. Looking forward, we are deeply cognizant of the critical timeline for meeting the European Union deforestation regulation compliance by December 2026. EUDR is a strict global mandate for commodity movement. It is imperative that Liberia meet this deadline. Otherwise, our agricultural commodity will be locked out of the global market. To safeguard our economy, we have successfully developed our preparatory farm mapping and traceability platform. Our target is to map and register an estimated 350,000 farms across the cocoa, coffee, and palm and rubber sectors, ensuring our exports remain fully compliant and globally competitive. Members of the press, one of the most serious threats confronting Liberia's agricultural commodity sector remains smuggling and information and informal cross-border trade. For too long, illicit commodity movement has deprived the government of critical revenue, weakened market confidence, undermined legitimate business system, and exposed farmers to exploitative trade practices operating outside regulated systems. Upon assuming leadership, we therefore made enforcement strengthening one of the institution's highest operational priorities. During the period under review, LACRA conducted more than 250 joint enforcement operations across major commodity sectors and border communities in collaboration with regulatory institutions. These operations resulted in the seizure and debarment of approximately 1,200 metric tons of small agricultural commodity. But beyond the seizures themselves, The broader objective was to restore regulatory precedence, improve deterrence, strengthen commodity formalization, and establish confidence in lawful commodity trade system nationwide. Today, as we speak, despite ongoing investigation at the police, some exporters are still being sanctioned for non-declaration and defrauding of close to 200 million against export. Whoever was involved will have to account. We also strengthen operational coordination with the Liberia Revenue Authority through a landmark institutional agreement intended to remove unnecessary barriers affecting domestic cocoa movement while improving legitimate commodity transportation and reducing market bottlenecks. That intervention represented an important step towards balancing enforcement with market efficiencies in front of assets. Today, we continue to make it clear that smuggling is not merely an administrative violation. Smuggling undermines national GDP development, weakens revenue generation, distorts commodity markets, and damages Nigeria's long-term agricultural competitiveness. The fight against illicit commodity trade therefore remains central to Liberia's broader institutional transformation. This growth is profoundly important. It proves that robust agricultural governance directly derives national revenue mobilization while simultaneously embedding transparency and accountability within our commodity value chain. It reinforces an undeniable truth. When properly regulated half of the board of directors and the Ministry of Information, Cultural Affairs, tourism, no, tourism, right? Cultural Affairs, MOI. Okay. Cultural Affairs for this important engagement plan, and I thank the Liberian people for their continued confidence and support. We all continue to bless our farmers, strengthen our institutions, and bless the Republic of Liberia. Thank you. Good afternoon. Please allow me to stand on existing protocols. On behalf of the Liberia Senate Authority, I bring you greetings from the Honorable Director, Honorable Stephen Wahamambo. My name is Luke Nicholas Williams, and I am from the Department of Metrology. And I'll be discussing this issue related to metrology or measurements. Yesterday, the global community celebrated World Metrology Day, a day commemorating the signing of the Meter Convention that brought about the system of units that we use, the SI units. Today also mark the importance of metrology to society. I'll be providing awareness on the Liberia metrology system, on the activities of the Liberia Senate Authority as it relates to measurements. So before I proceed, I would just want to present a scenario. We all go to medical facilities, and the first thing that we do is they take our vital signs, which is they do our pressure, they take our body weight, and they take our temperature. Those are cardinal measurements that the health practitioners use to start their investigation into their health matters. So the question is, how accurate are those measurements? Do we sometimes ask them if their equipment are accurate or not? Also, we purchase goods and services, most especially goods that are packed in the absence of the consumers, like 25 kilograms of rice or 50 kg cement. Those products are packed while we are not there. So we are concerned about the accuracy of the measurement as done. So the Liberia State Authority has a department dedicated to ensuring that the measurements are accurate, they are correct, and they are reliable. So we have a department of metrology that provides us those services. So currently our services covers oversight over all measurement activities in the country, and also consumer protection when it comes to trade that requires the use of measuring devices. And then we provide calibration services to the industries that requires measurements. So the Liberia Authority have also claim activities coming up when it comes to measurement. One of them is the consumer protection service that requires the weight instrument verification. We are aware that over the years we have a lot of measuring devices in our country that have not been verified, and because of that, most of our people have been cheated when it comes to the short weight. The Liberia Authority want to initiate a robust measurement system when it comes to ensuring that weighing instruments used in trade and trade-related services are verified and certified on a regular basis. So beginning next month, we'll start the process of verifying and certifying weighing instruments used in trade. We'll also provide stickers on these instruments when they are verified, so that people can check to know if these instruments are accurate or not, or they are certified by the Liberia Authority. So after the verification exercise has been completed, if your measuring instrument have not been certified by the Liberia Authority, we ensure that they will not be used for trade purposes. So any instrument form on the market that has not been verified will be seized. We'll also be providing verification services for gas stations as well, ensuring that their measurements are accurate. The Liberia Authority will also work with the Ministry of Health to ensure that we can make mandatory the calibration of medical devices. As well, where doctors and health practitioners rely on those devices for diagnosis. So if these devices are not accurate, the consequences can be fatal. So the Liberia Authority will also work with the Ministry of Commerce to ensure that measuring instruments being inputted into the country have been verified and that they meet the specific requirements before they are inputted. Then lastly, we have the licensing of private calibration companies. We are aware that there are companies operating providing calibration services, which are also measurement services in country. And with the Liberia Authority having oversight, we want to ensure that before you can perform calibration services, you should have a permit or a license from the Liberia Authority. So also show that can be done. So basically, the Liberia Authority protecting consumers when it comes to measurement. And once up here, I'll just urge our people that if you see a measuring device, don't just accept what measurement provides, but ask the hard questions. Is the instrument accurate? Has it been calibrated? And look forward to seeing the speaker of the Liberia Authority before you can use that instrument or before you can trust that instrument. Thank you.
Okay, so we want to thank all of our speakers for the brilliant deliberation. Now is your turn, please. Giving back on screen with our time. One question. So if you have 4 questions for the 4 speakers, you can share the other question with the police again. On your behalf. I'll take 1 question per gentleman.
Thank you so much for allowing us to have the way to ask questions. And it keeps that according to the other establishment, you become one of the in the NGO sector. Therefore, you are not qualified. Because of that, you have come with discrimination, working with no boss, so be speaking for them rather into your board. Are you really doing that?
My name is Liberia MOI and I'm for the ESTV. My question is directed to the minister on the proposed bill by the president in the establishment of the anti-corruption code. What extra strategy or criteria is government is going to put in place so public officials who are involved with the investment of state resources cannot walk away with the impunity as we have seen over the course of time? Thank you.
Next question, straight to the point.
Good afternoon. My name is Good afternoon. I'm from the newspaper. A question to one of side. Thank you for the information. I found the surgeon but this question. I visited the last time. The people that complain about the person bringing people from that side LRA will always accuse them that they are taking the cocoa from Ivory Coast, and because that they charge them more than the cocoa from Liberia. What role are you playing to ensure that LRA will stop or such happening on the people? Thank you.
Good afternoon, my name is Jackson Sefa, and I report for SMTV. My question goes to former Prime Minister. For the sake of record, in November 2020, there was an uprising in your country. The Tigrayan Liberation Force went on the federal troops. They waged an unprovoked war on several federal troops. At the end of the day, there was an arrest within the country for several times when the Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed ordered the federal troops to go after them. Especially when the regional capital of Tigray was captured, Mekelle. It led to the influx of refugees to neighboring Sudan and other countries. Human suffering and losses of lives, especially for women and children. As a humanitarian and an advocate, what have you been doing to stop the crisis in your country?
Thank you. That's President.
My name is Josh Umu from the Liberia Agency. Question to Accra. I listened to you talk about there is this plan to do mapping for the cocoa, coffee, and of course the farm sector. What are you looking for? Those concerned with that sector, what do they stand to benefit?
For those who struggle better Liberia, my name is George, seeking my rights for the journalist in this paper. So, Ambassador Amasu, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia. My question is what's the message? What's the message would you like to share with the government of Liberia, the private institutions, and at large, the young people of Africa, concerning the importance of investing in persons living with disability as a national contributor? Thank you.
For this national report for Saturday. My question goes to Apostle Dr. K. Aaron Wright. Many persons with disabilities are still seen begging on the major street because maneuver with their children. Why does the situation continue despite the existence of the commission?
Afternoon, my name is Desmond William and I report for the Democracy Watch newspaper. Let me say welcome to our country, former Prime Minister of Ethiopia. Before coming to Liberia, my question is directed to you, former Prime Minister. Before coming to Liberia, what has been your perception of Liberia? Because you said this is the first time in Liberia. What has been your own impression? Now that you have entered the country, what different impression have you gathered so far? Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Darius Kanya and I report for ODF. My question goes to the former Prime Minister. And I would like to say welcome to Liberia. My question is, as a former Prime Minister and now head of Nigerian organization, what leadership gaps do you observe in Africa that continue to hire Africa's growth and natural resources despite Africa's content according to policies?
Thank you.
All right, I'm Stephen S. Akwe, and my question I report for African Media. My question goes to the former Prime Minister for disability. And this question is, you are in the field of the disability, and we see children moving with their parents in the street. What is the future of those children? Because we see them from morning to night with their children, with their parents, moving begging. What is the future after they are not going to school? So how do you see them in the next 10 years to come?
Good afternoon to all. My name is Arina Ipopi, and I report from Lace FM. My question is directed to our visiting guest from Ethiopia. So Liberians are concerned because according to you, you said that you are here to help Liberia in empowering the person living with disabilities. And then you went on by saying your focus will be on women and children because they are vulnerable in society. So Liberians are concerned. What makes you to think that men are not vulnerable to society? And after working along with us in Liberia here, where do you vision to leave person living with disabilities in Liberia? Thank you.
Folks, These were all the questions so far. These are all the questions so far from reporters here to the former Prime Minister.
I have 3 questions to respond to. The first one is, what is the bilateral relationship with large-scale farmers? Very good. The agricultural architecture, not only in Liberia, across the globe, is shifting. Large farmers who export or who are producing whatever they produce, the global market demand, particularly based on the EUDR, is that your produce should be traced. There should be an origin where that produce is coming from. And the reason is because they want to make sure that you do not cut down the forest to produce. So if you don't need that as a large-scale farmer, you can't send your produce out here. The other day I met the Chinese ambassador, and we're trying to discuss to see how we can be placed on the Chinese custom platform. And one of the requirements is also the EUDR. But most times when we speak, we say, oh, you know what, European Union shit, but it was introduced by the European Union, but it's been adopted also by the global market. Even the US require that you meet EUDR requirement compliance. So meaning that your farm, even your large farmer, the farm should be a legitimate farm, honor our land policy. You want to sell, the commodity should be traced. It should know where it comes from. Now, if you play a game and you think your commodity, you can take it from Sierra Leone, when you mix it with commodities that have been traced, it will not go through the EUDR certification. So that certification is a standard. We must go through it. Anything foreign that is mixed with it and the batch of it cannot be traced with barcode or with because the farmer will have an ID that you buy from the farm gate. And that farm gate and the code that is being provided for that commodity, wherever it goes and so forth, even if you carry the whole process. Some people say, why if I send to China? And you send to China, when they produce it, that code must go away so that they can determine the origin of the raw material that you carry. So our work will help large-scale farmers to be able to have their commodity certified to hit the international market. We have just introduced a new part of our policies that talk about how we can support the stability of the market in case we have a market crash with commodities. What should we do? So percent of what we pay to us, for example, as royalty, will provide support to farmers so that you are able to get training, so that you are able to get inputs that will help you to continue your farming and so forth. So that is why some of the things we have in our regulations, like the fees you pay, royalty, oil and so forth, and that's the kind of support that you're going to have. Now, the last thing with the farmers is we train the smaller farmers so that they do post-harvesting very well. Many of our farmers don't go through fermentations and good drying processes, so the cocoa lost its value on the international market. So those who are also involved are buyers and people selling and so forth. So the more we train farmers, you get quality and premium cocoa that you can send abroad for a premium price. So those are some of the contributions that we make, and that's the thing that our large-scale farmers can benefit. Then as we go into our overall regionalization, we are hoping to have a platform that will support farmers so that farmers will transition from subsistence into mechanized farming that we can provide and support for. So that's about that. Now the final one is we have drafted incentive mechanism. So farmers, large-scale farmers, if you are producing, well, you don't have to send all raw. We are going to be providing incentive to the large-scale farmers. For example, if you decide to send raw, you pay more royalty. If you send processed, you pay less royalty because we want to create jobs. So there's so many things that we offer for the large farmers so that we can help them. Then the next question is, what is the effort that is being made to stop in-country taxation? In my statement, if you listen, we've done something significant in that area. I've had a series of meetings with the LRA, the custom commissioner, someone, and myself, and he did very, very well. We went to Grand Judah, we had interactions with farmers. There were many things that were happening in Grand Judah that we had to stop, we had to intervene. Even Mokinami there were buying and requesting that people pay in CFA.
the cocoa before they got clear. We told them we can't have competing currencies in our country, and we had to stop that. We told the custom and had a discussion with them. They agreed with us that in country you cannot tax. You cannot determine the Ivorian cocoa from Liberian cocoa. It's a difficult thing. If you want to stop this, go to the border, and you can stop that. And I'm happy that we're able to reach an agreement. And it's part of the agreement today that last week we, LAGRA, the LRA, and the Ministry of Finance, we are forming a task force to deal with a number of issues because we build that kind of cooperation. So it's all in that direction. Farmers, I do not believe farmers are going to be troubled along the way that they should pay for their cocoa in country when they are moving their cocoa and so forth. We told them that's inappropriate, and they understood that. What is the intent for mapping? Oh yes, first of all, we lack data in this country. That's the first issue. You can't tell how many youth, how many women, what their ages that are involved in farming. Because at some point you need to be able to have data that tell you that farming is likely to decline in this place because most of the farmers there are older people. And so they lose their energy to be able to farm. Or the farm's ages, you may not have data on it. So production capacity of farms in particular region may decline because the farm is old and other things and so forth. So the mapping will give us data that will help government to be able to have information on how the overall general disaggregations of farm from one region to the region is looking. Number two, where is cocoa produced? I don't want to guess and say, oh, right now if you ask somebody, they will say that so far. But not many people know that Grangeville and River G are competing now very heavily, in the cocoa production. Bon County was among the counties that were producing heavily. At some point, for a whole quarter, we got not even a ton from Bon County. So, I mean, the environment is shifting. But for government to make sound decisions, they need to have data. If they don't have the data, they can't. And so forth. So, the second thing is, with the EUDR issue that's happening, every farm needs to be mapped with their geolocation, their polygon, and everything that is needed, so that when that farmer's name is placed in our database, we know where the farmer is located, and we know where the crop is coming from. So it is important to make sure that our farmers are mapped, because other data will be collected and so forth. So that is the reason why the farmers will have to be mapped. Because when the produce comes to the market, you want to know where it comes from. And the people who down there buying at the last end, if they don't have information, that's it. There's no way that they will do business with you. So the produce, you don't want to have a produce shipped somewhere in the center. So the record will be there for all of these things to work together. So I think that's the last questions, and I'd like to say thank you to all of you. I'm sure you understood our presentation very well. So without less questions, and that shows that indeed we made significant impact in our presentation. We want to encourage our media colleagues to always make sure that you elevate some of the things that we are doing in the country. Agriculture is key. When you talk about agriculture, people say we provide the highest employment in the sector, 70% go always high and so forth. To tell you that we are the biggest employer. We'd like to close also finally by informing our government, our legislators, that EUDR is serious. December 31st, the door will be closed. All countries that are not in compliance. We don't want to have ourselves found in that kind of situation, because agriculture is the one under this government. And we have to work hard as much as possible to make sure that we mark our farms and meet the requirement as stated under the EUDR compliance requirements. Thank you.
Again, thank you. We firstly want to deal with the question that says, Dr. Wright, you are a reverend, you don't know anything about disability, you don't know how to stand on the pulpit and preach. But that's a mindset that we have in this country that is not worth considering. That someone who is the minister of the gospel does not have any other discipline in any area. That's a big mistake that you have made. And we want to say to you that there is an act that created the commission in 2005. It did not say only, absolutely, only person with disability can lead the commission. Someone with disability and non-disability person with an expertise in working with a person with disability. We started working with a person with disability since 2007. If you ever saw the wheelchairs in Liberia, brought where you see the plastic chair in an iron, we brought that. The first 44 continuum we brought in country. I had to send my card to clear it because at the time the government at then denied us to report, to do it on a free basis. So I had to sell my car, my first car. Then I brought in the 744 continuum from California, Pasadena. And I had to sell my second car that I bought. So I tell you, I've been in the humanitarian era for a long time. I have worked in the NGO cycle, nationally and internationally, for 28 years. I have worked for the peace process of Liberia. I was the youngest. So you know, there are some of whom in government today stay around at the time when we were working on the peace process of this country. Honorable Kofi Woos, the late Ruth Caesar, the late Jeremiah Tule. Some of you don't know them. We've been working years. I got my master in organizational leadership. And I also have a master in peace building and conflict transformation. I got my first doctorate in ministry, and I'm pursuing my second doctorate in business administration because I was also in the private sector before our father called me and gave me the opportunity to serve my country. So, journalists, the government do not see you as enemy. The government see you as partner to work together and promote our agenda. So therefore, I will encourage you that if you hear the news as an individual journalist, just do yourself honest. Very good thing that you will be remembered in this country. Be honest enough and just apply your ABC. I'm not a journalist, but I'm not a novice journalist. So in the emotion of the question, like with the flag, Peter runs the civil society arm of well-being and protection of persons with disability in the length and breadth of this country. So it's a government entity. You cannot tell, as some of you will allow people to use you when you sit in your studio or you're behind Facebook and telling the president who to go there and who not to go there. I don't think that's how our journalism should be. We are all partners as journalists. We are partners to the government. The government is not your enemy. And we don't see you as that. Without you, the government cannot work. We need you. But we all need to work together in a very safer way. And then somebody asked about the street. Listen, let me tell you. Before I was born, we have people in the street begging. Right? In as much as the government is doing everything through the General Ministry, through the National Commission of Disability, and other development partners that we partner with in this country, trying to do everything they can do. Yet and still, we are working towards doing that. But it's not an event, it's a process. As we speak to you, we are working with other private entities, NGOs, soliciting funding to augment the budget that government gives to the commission. And there are many other things that you're going to see. There are a lot of difference you have seen. Sometimes it's good to be constructive. Speak on the positive things that are happening, and then you also speak towards things that you need or you want to see being improved. But not to just look at everything and just tell me negative. I don't think as a country we have graduated from such a mindset. We are going towards development, and it includes every one of us. Thank you. We now call our Honorable Prime Minister to continue the other active questions.
Thank you. Great questions. And I also commend the Honorable to organize this kind of press release, which is very important. And I also believe that the media is a very critical arm to shape governance in governments. For the sake of time, I will bring the questions in their categories and to make it short as much as possible. So please bear with me. Regarding disabilities, I didn't say, and I didn't want to say in the first place that there are no men in disabilities or not considered men considered as disabilities. But thanks to remind me, and I do believe, when I say we focus on children and vulnerable children and women, what I said was we have been doing that until now in other places, especially in East Africa. And then I added up to say, now there is an opportunity to work with disabilities. So take that way, please. With regard to disabilities, what to do with them or for them, I can't say the details now because it's only the first time. We don't have a program now, we haven't yet strategies and so on. That will come up later on. So I can't say, I'll do this, I'll do this, number one, number two, number three, because it's not time. The time will come, what we can do will be listed out. And we have our own goals and strategies and our capacities. So maybe later, but of course necessary. Concerning the same thing. With regard to the fate of the children, I can see that is a problem, and it has been a problem even in Ethiopia. By the way, Ethiopia is the second or third in Africa with regard to orphans in numbers. More than 5 million orphans are in Ethiopia. Not that much here, but I know that there are children who are in problems. And addressing children and women, as I said earlier, is one of the solutions to address the problems of children. Here is what I want to insist. Addressing the children and women and disabilities and other social problems must be the number one thing that has to be mobilized locally, first of all. And then, of course, other external support would be only secondary support. So mobilizing people here, mobilizing Liberians, local Liberians who are capable of doing something has to come up and be mobilized and get this opportunity called and do something for their own people. That has to be, especially the media, has to go through this direction for the people of Liberia. One question regarding the 2020 civil war in Ethiopia was raised. That's a very complex thing, by the way. And I want to remind my brother who asked this question, I want to remind him that it's a very complex issue. And I think the first thing I advise you is that to go through and research very well why that happened, who is responsible, and so on and so forth, because it's very controversial even within Ethiopia. So I don't go in that because it takes hours and hours if I start. But just focusing on your question with regard to humanitarian things, the first thing I did with regard to the war was because I knew both parties, both in the federal government and also the state. I know them in person. I know them individually through different ways. And then I tried to meet them, and I did several times, so that they would not go into war, so that they would even reconcile. I did that individually, personally. I did that not officially before even the war starts, anticipating that this war would come. The second thing I did was I brought up some individuals and also humanitarian and other civic organization leaders as a group. And we started officially over the medias to tell the people, tell the governments and both sides that this war would not start. And then after it started, we continuously try to advocate for peace and reconciliation officially over the medias, both in Ethiopia and also out in the diaspora and other organizations and countries. That's number two. Number three, within the course of the war, my humanitarian organization did its best in its capacity to do something for the displaced people, meaning especially we were providing food assistance and other kinds of assistance for the displaced people and for those who have been damaged, especially for women, children, and also displaced. So we did that. Number four, what we did was that I personally and also with a group of people, we did a diplomatic intervention, especially with the European Union, American government, and African Union, to intervene into the war and then to bring reconciliation or some kind of negotiation. And that worked. And finally, they came into some kind of negotiation. The war stopped, thankful to God, even though damaging. By the United Nations, by the way, and other international organizations estimate, close to 1 million people were killed because of that war. And many thousands of women were raped, and many children, of course, died and became orphans. It was a disastrous war, which nobody would even dream of happening. The other important thing and issue, question that has been there, and then I'm done. And I will take, as I said, as a category and try to explain. The advice and the address that I have, especially for the young people, is to, number one, take your responsibility of carrying the nation of Liberia to the next level. Whether you like it or not, that is your responsibility. I mean, we are done. We, the last generation, we are done. It's you now. It's you taking lessons from us, from the previous leaders, lessons from the failures mainly. Because learning is most effective if it is taken from failures, but for good. And what you have to do is, when I say this, is that try to be not only leaders, but also statesmen and women. The difference between leadership and statesman and stateswomanship is that leaders are for a particular thing to lead, for a particular goal to fulfill. Statesmen and women is about a nation. It's about a people. And it's about history and legacy. Try to get yourself into that position. And that position transcends from political division, it transcends ethnic or any other division, it transcends religious division, it transcends division of any sort between the people. It transcends, it gets to the higher level of taking a nation, building a nation into the next. That's my thing. Number two, don't be violent. Never go into violence. Anytime, every time, violence is disastrous. And I said it from my own experience, from my own journey. Most of my young age journey was violent. It was violent. I was a guerrilla fighter, by the way. for 15 years. I was involved in armed struggle. I myself organized a group, an armed group, and went into war with others, of course. We went to war for 15 years in the country. And we built an army of hundreds of thousands. And we overthrew the government and we took power. When I see it now, it's disastrous. More than 70,000 of our young friends have been killed in that war. So I am telling you, as they say, from the horse's mouth, I am telling you from my own experience. Never go to civil war. Never go to violence. And you also have experienced that, right? As Liberians, you have been through that. So be energetic. Ask the government. Ask the, like what you are doing that, and think for new things. Look for a changes, socially, economically, politically, whatever it is, but only and only peaceful. Only and only peaceful. That's my advice for the young generation. You don't go anywhere by being violent, but you can go elsewhere by being peaceful. And being peaceful doesn't mean that you are, a coward or something like that. No. In fact, being peaceful is the most courageous thing to do. These are my advices for the young generation. My advice for the governments, any governments, especially in Africa, is one, listen to your people. And number two, work on good governance at any time. These concepts are by destiny. I don't go into that at that. Thank you very much. Thank you.
So the strategy for the workings of the two posts we are established cannot be addressed on a press conference platform. Why you call it strategy? You guys explain the strategy right now that the book is not on it. So no, we're not doing that. So that was the only question we could not even. So the only other thing that I want to do in close is it is a good thing that the reporters network here at the Ministry of Information is proving to be a vibrant one. All the journalists in the country, from Monrovia, all the counties from everywhere that are reporters, you have your own association. That association went for elections. Your group here alone won 3 of the positions, including the president, the vice president, and I guess financial secretary. That's a show of strength. It means most of your colleagues, wherever they are, believe in you. They see you as competent people who are also leaders. I met with those elected, and one thing I told them is, you are from here, but your colleagues from everywhere elected, including those from the radio school, executive mansion, everywhere you think of, they all came together and said that. So you are their leaders. You are not your leaders of your group here. So on behalf of the senior management team here at the ministry, I just want to congratulate the elected leaders, and if you are here, just walk up here so we'll see you. So you're the vice president elect, I don't see the president-elect and the cabinet secretary. You can be on presidential function when you're not yet president. But being president-elect does not make you president. You're just on the way to being the president. So let me congratulate you and your colleagues for your election. Wish you well. We stand ready to do whatever we can to support the Reporters Association under your leadership. Represent yourself well and represent that you are part of the best we can. Congratulations. And finally, I'm sure those of you followed an important statesman died today. Somebody who has been one of the pillars of the progressive community in Liberia. Those are people whose examples we follow, especially those of us who became activists. We learn from the courage and some of the things that Dusty Wolcott and others did during a period of one-party state rule. These were the actors who fought for pluralistic democracy that we all enjoy today. We enjoy going to elections, and it's fun. Those are people who laid the foundation. So today we learned with sadness that Comrade Dusty Wolcott is dead, and from an initial perspective, the government wants to extend condolences to his family, particularly our dear friend and brother, his son Samora Pizza Wolcott. We follow what the arrangements are for funeral arrangements. I watched the video where they were depositing the remains in our flag. I saw many of his peers. I saw Kofi Woods, John Stewart, and others joining to take the remains to the funeral home. They so rest in peace. Thank you.
Bend down, bro. And of course, folks, again, good evening to every one of you. That does it for the Ministry of Information regular press briefing here at the Charles Bayon Press Conference Hall. Remember today, here at the press conference, we had 5 different individuals, 5 guests who made appearance here today at the Charles Bayon Press Conference Hall, particularly ranging from the Honorable Minister himself, Gerald Matthew Pia, the Minister of Information, followed by Honorable Dan Asei, the Acting Director General for the Liberia Agricultural Commodity Regulatory Authority, LAGRA, wherein he gave an extensive report as it relates to reforms, of that particular institution. Apostle Dr. J. Aaron Wright Sr., the Acting Executive Director General for the National Commission on Disability, also made a brief statement, and of course he also introduces the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Honorable Tama Lane Atmezon, and of course there are a lot they discussed about. Remember, let me just give you a few points highlighted so far by the Minister of Information. Some of the major talking points he did here at the Charles Bayon Press Conference Hall. Remember, on yesterday, President Joseph Yuma Boyka submitted 2 bills, particularly as it relates to the establishment of the World and Economic Crown Court and another special court of the National Anti-Corruption Commission. On yesterday, the President submitted these 2 legislative bills to the House of Representatives, for which the Minister himself, Gerald Matthew Pia, disclosed this in the press conference. The Minister also highlighted on the agriculture scheme that has been launched throughout the 15 counties as it relates to farming activities, wherein he said that this particular initiative will determine the most suitable crops for Liberia, especially especially in the agricultural development, and will focus on security goals too as well. The minister also highlighted on Liberal Governance Reforms Commission and the European Union on follow-up mission here in Liberia, where he's talking about active engagements on the way as it relates to critical electoral reforms, including campaign financing and of course diaspora voting, voting tracking, and gender inclusion and election timeline. So these are just few points made by the Honorable Minister Chairman Matthew Pia, who came here initially on this particular podium, and that particular statement was also followed by the Liberia Standard Authority. The Liberia Standard Authority, let me get the name correct, Mr. Woodibad Nicholas William. He represented the Liberia Standard Authority here, particularly the head of the Metrology department. And one key statement he also made, a few statements he also made, I would like to bring to your attention. He talks about the Liberia Standard Authority saying a strong warning as it relates to measuring devices that is not satisfied and approved by the Liberia Standard Authority will be seized and prohibited for all commercial use. Mr. Williams also disclosed that the Liberia Standard Authority has plans to collaborate with the Ministry of Health to ensure medical devices used for diagnosis are properly collaborated to avoid dangerous inaccuracies. Fast forward, again, like we said to you initially, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Honorable Tamat Lane Amesu, was here initially. So let me just give you a summary of his biography. Honorable Tamat Lane Amesu, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, is an accomplished scholar, humanitarian advocate, and international leadership trainer. He holds a bachelor's degree in development studies, a master of business administration and economic management, and a master's degree in public policy and international affairs, and a Juris Master in international legal studies from institutions in the United Kingdom and the United States of America. So Mr. Tamat Lane Amesu, the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia, was born and raised in Addis Ababa. He has transitioned into humanitarian service, leadership development, and global advocacy. He currently resides in the United States of America with his families and continues to serve as an international speaker, leadership mentor, and humanitarian advocate. He is affiliated with several international organizations dedicated to leadership development, youth empowerment, and support for vulnerable communities across Africa. Quickly, let me bring to you a few points that I highlighted, particularly during the presentation of the former Prime Minister of Ethiopia. Let me see what I can lay my hands on it quickly. And for his report, there was a few points that I highlighted in his presentation where he's talking about Liberia and Ethiopia having a long-standing diplomatic relationship, particularly when it comes to diplomatic cooperation between these two countries. Fast forward, he also talked about how he is the current head of the Colat Group Impact Investment, where he's talking about a lot of investment opportunity for Liberians, especially in the disabled community. He also talked about capacity building, humanitarian development, and support for people with disability, where he highlighted as a major priority for future collaboration here in Liberia. Folks, the press conference has just ended here in the Chatsworth Press Conference Hall. My name is Christopher Espesman. I'd like to say thanks to all of you for watching, and of course we will join you in our next subsequent broadcast to bring to you more updates as it relates to government developmental initiative. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye.